The article titled Memes and Viral Content describes memes as cultural information disseminating through society in patterns. However, today memes are more thought of as jokes in picture format. Um, Memes have many different uses these days. They can be used in humorous ways to make people laugh. They can be used in a thought provoking way to make people think about a certain topic. They can use to promote a product or persuade someone to kind of listen to an idea of theirs. And they can be also used in a way that can be harmful or offensive to others. And that brings us to our topic for today is should authoritative bodies be able to censor or restrict the use of memes if they're used in a harmful or hateful way? So there are two examples of groups who have had their memes censored or have had people try to censor their memes. The first of that is the alternative right or the alt-right. They are a political group that favors disestablishment, and they have often used memes in order to target groups that the left favors, such as women, immigrants, or the LGBT community. They have kind of acquired Pepe the Frog as their own mascot of sorts to use for their memes, which have been seen as racist, sexist, hateful, in that sort of way. The Anti-Defamation League was one of the first groups to try and censor the memes that they have put out. In fact, Matt Fury, who created Pepe the Frog, himself joined the Anti-Defamation League in order to try and make sure that Pepe's image wasn't used in such a hateful way as the alt-right was using it for. Hillary Clinton also has tried to censor the memes that they have been using. In T.J. Brown's article, Hillary Clinton should ignore the alt-right and their memes, he states that Hillary wants to capitalize on the emotional reaction people are having in opposition to the alternative right, which means she is kind of trying to bring them more out in the open in order that people can see the hateful memes that they're doing and be against them so that she can promote her political stance against the alternative right. Another example of a group who was censored were 10 Harvard students who actually had their acceptances revoked for using hateful and offensive memes in a private group chat. So these Harvard students met on Facebook through a Facebook group for future Harvard students, and some of them decided to start a group chat. And through this group chat, eventually they started sharing a lot of harmful and offensive memes that some of which mock the Holocaust and the sexual abuse of children, along with other racist and sexist material. Eventually, the Harvard officials caught on to this and revoked the acceptances of 10 students who were involved in this situation. In her article titled Harvard Withdraws 10 Acceptances for Offensive Memes in a Private Group Chat, Samantha Schmidt states that according to Harvard College admissions policies, the university reserves the right to withdraw an offer of admission if the student engages or has engaged in behavior that brings into question their honesty, maturity, or moral character, among other conditions. This brings up the question is whether or not authoritative groups should be able to censor these memes, and there's some who believe they definitely should not. Again, in Schmidt's article, she quotes Professor Erica Goldberg, who compares the stuff that went on in that Harvard group chat to the card game Cards Against Humanity, which is an extremely controversial card game that uses lots of offensive material and offends pretty much every single social group that there is. Goldberg says in the article that even many good liberals love this game precisely because the humor is so contrary to our values. Goldberg believes that the students weren't meaning any harm by these memes, but were simply joking around, much like people who play the game Cards Against Humanity are just joking around. She states that Harvard should not teach its students to be afraid to joke, even if it is in an offensive way. In her article, Schmidt also states that university campuses across the country are in the midst of clashes over free speech. So this incident at Harvard is causing people to wonder how much can free speech be limited by authoritative groups such as Harvard if it is used in an offensive way. And if free speech is restricted in some ways, can it become a slippery slope? And could it be restricted in more and more areas that could be deemed offensive? So, what do you think? Should offensive memes be restricted, or should First Amendment rights always be protected for anyone?
That's a good question, and it's a difficult question because you're always asking the question, what crosses the line, in terms of being abusive, and how far can freedom of speech go? Is it unlimited? That's really the question I think that that you're asking. And does anybody have the right to call into question people's use of offensive things that could hurt other people? So that's really the heart of your issue. Personally, I think there's a line somewhere, and it ought to be able to be decided by a group of reasonable people. So, is there an unlimited amount of freedom of speech? Personally, I don't think there is. I think there are things that we shouldn't do that are harmful and negative. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, overall, memes are a thing that have always been around and will be around for a long time, and people will always find offensive ways to use them. And while I don't condone in any way the use of these memes in extremely offensive and hateful ways, I don't believe that they should be restricted by authoritative bodies, as it can too easily become a slippery slope, and they could end up being able to restrict any kind of meme that is put on. So yeah, I hope that all of you will continue to think about this topic going forward from here, and would all come up with your own opinions on it and what you think should be done about this. As it is a very important thing in our modern time and affects all of us in its own way. So, thank you.
Yay.